Hopefully when you were together over the Thanksgiving holiday, you just simply had a wonderful time with your family and your friends. But there's a real good chance that if you were together, perhaps with some older members of your family, you might have noticed some hearing changes in them, and then that brings with it the difficult sometimes conversation of talking about getting a hearing device. So Tiffany Ahlberg is with us again this morning. She of course has Ahlberg Audiology, and she's going to share a story, not a bedtime story, but a story to let people kind of hear for themselves really just how impactful hearing again can be.
Yeah, so I mean, we see it all the time, but there was a gentleman that came in this past week that just kind of pulled at my heartstrings a little bit, because he came in and he was very hesitant to do something about his hearing. And the person that accompanied him convinced him, let's just give it a try. And so he did, hesitantly, very hesitantly. And we saw him for his follow-up this week, and both of them were basically in tears, just telling us how he's a totally different person.
Really?
How he, I think that the person that was with him is there with him a lot, and she saw him kind of isolate himself, be to himself, not communicate, not talk, and just be completely withdrawn. And so she, now that he can hear, she said he just talks all the time.
Really?
She said he's a totally different person, that he's totally changed his personality by being able to hear. So they communicate all day long now, so it's good. And she said he's so much happier and just a different person.
You know, I mean, you do talk about this frequently when you're on the show with us, and I think you've told me it's something like 7 years that people will sometimes wait before
that's
finally
average.
coming. That's the average. That's a lot of life lost.
That's a lot of life lost, and there are people who it is much longer than that.
Wonder why it is such a difficult thing for people to come.
I think because, and there was another example that I saw yesterday, and when I tell people that they have a hearing loss, they're very often shocked. They can't believe that it's as bad as maybe it is on paper, because it's such a gradual change.
So they've adjusted
to
their new normal.
And you compensate and you compensate, and then one day you just feel like, I don't understand anymore. And it wasn't just one day, it was years of accumulated problem.
So that it's not so much a digging in of saying maybe it's a sign of aging, or I don't want to have to wear something, is that they truly don't notice it.
And I think that in our minds, we think that hearing loss is associated with aging, and it is not. I saw someone else yesterday that was, in her 30s with hearing loss, and she, again, it was hard, to believe that that was the case. And I told her, I said, I think more people have hearing loss than know that they have hearing loss.
Right.
Because people, when they find out I'm an audiologist, they'll say, oh, I probably need to get my hearing checked. I have so much difficulty hearing, and background noise, or and they probably do have hearing loss. They just don't get it checked.
Well, now, Tiffany, somebody in her 30s, is that unusual? I mean, I know you said you see more of it, but
I'll tell you what's more unusual is that they come in to get it checked at 30. Yeah. I mean, that's it. I mean, if we did test more 30 or 40-year-olds, then we probably would see more hearing loss. But people tend to wait until they're a little older to come in for that initial hearing test.
Okay, so let's say that somebody comes in. Let's use the gentleman that came in that you touched you so. Did he have, what kind of hearing device did he have put in, or was it?
He has a very, very significant hearing loss.
Okay.
So it is different than some other people's hearing losses that can still communicate, even though they may have issues in some areas, but he had issues everywhere. So he had more severe hearing loss than your average person who comes in for the first time.
So you mentioned that kind of that baseline hearing test, you call it. Is 40 what you recommend, or is it 50?
Well, 50 to 55 is when we generally recommend, unless people see an issue first, because I mean, most of the time we're going to identify something around that age. It doesn't mean that you have to do something right then, but it's so important to have a baseline, because the first question people ask me when they find out they have hearing losses is it going to get worse? And without a baseline, I have no idea. When did it start? How often is it changing? So we don't know that information unless we have a history to base it on.
So if somebody comes to you and let's say that they're 55 and they've never had the baseline done, this is their first visit, and there is some hearing loss there, then does that become their baseline?
Yeah.
And then for repeat
If
visits?
they've never had a hearing test before, that's their baseline, because that's
Okay.
the only thing we have to go by to look for changes.
In terms of what we should be thinking about during this gift giving time of the year, we both have kids. They're always got some kind of device either on their head or in their ear. Do you need to be careful with noise?
Yeah, we don't want to expose our kids to noise. What I have found is often people are shocked when they find out they have hearing loss, and they're like, is there anything I can do? Is there anything other than hearing aids that I can do? And there's not. So you need to realize that and know, I think children especially think that they're invincible,
Right.
like that it can't happen to them. Oh, I'm okay right now. I'll worry about that one day when I get older. But you wish that you had managed that differently whenever you get older and you have hearing loss.
Well, and it is an interesting thing because today's kids have so many things coming at them as young people that we never had. We didn't have phones to be looking at. We didn't have, Apple, what do you call them, AirPods?
AirPods.
Yeah. To have in our ears. We didn't have all that stuff.
Yeah, no, we didn't.
If people want to schedule an appointment with you before the end of the year, is there time?
Yeah, call. Yes. We can get people in. It's just getting a little bit, a lot of people are trying to get in right now.
Sure,
but-
before those premiums get all done for the end of the year. So 641-0956 is her phone number. Your Athens office is not yet open,
No,
has it?
we're looking probably February
Okay.
1st that
Okay.
will be open there.
So for right now, Cleveland is the closest one, right there on North Ocoee Street. Such a cute area of town.
Yeah.
Ahlberg Audiology.com is her website, and you could be the next one to tug at her heartstrings. Who knows? Thanks.
Thank you.